Hello, this is Melobery. Welcome to the third episode of this podcast. Today, we are going to dive into a story called All I Remember. So I invite you to take a deep breath, quiet your surroundings, and silence any distractions. Just relax and listen closely to this story.
When my father spoke to me, he always began the conversation with, "Have I told you yet today how much I adore you?" The expression of love was reciprocated, and in his later years, as his life began to visibly ebb, we grew even closer, if that were possible. At 82, he was ready to die, and I was ready to let him go so that his suffering would end. We laughed and cried and held hands and told each other of our love, and agreed that it was time. I said, "Dad, after you've gone, I want a sign from you that you're fine." He laughed at the absurdity of that. Dad didn't believe in reincarnation. I wasn't positive I did either, but I had had many experiences that convinced me I could get some signal from the other side. My father and I were so deeply connected, I felt his heart attack in my chest at the moment he died. Later, I mourned that the hospital, in their sterile wisdom, had not let me hold his hand as he slipped away. Day after day, I prayed to hear from him, but nothing happened. Night after night, I asked for a dream before I fell asleep. And yet 4 long months passed, and I heard and felt nothing but grief at his loss. Mother had died 5 years before of Alzheimer's, and though I had grown daughters of my own, I felt like a lost child. One day, while I was lying on a massage table in a dark, quiet room, waiting for my appointment, a wave of longing for my father swept over me. I began to wonder if I had been too demanding in asking for a sign from him. I noticed that my mind was in a hyper-acute state. I experienced an unfamiliar clarity in which I could have added long columns of figures in my head. I checked to make sure I was awake and not dreaming, and I saw that I was as far removed from a dreamy state as one could possibly be. Each thought I had was like a drop of water disturbing a still pond, and I marveled at the peacefulness of each passing moment. Then I thought, I've been trying to control the messages from the other side. I will stop that now. Suddenly, my mother's face appeared. My mother, as she had been before Alzheimer's disease, had stripped her of her mind, her humanity, and 50 pounds. Her magnificent silver hair crowned her sweet face. She was so real and so close, I felt I could reach out and touch her. She looked as she had dozen years ago, before the wasting away had begun. I even smelled the fragrance of joy, her favorite perfume. She was waiting and didn't speak. I wondered how it could happen that I was thinking as my father, and my mother appeared, and I felt a little guilty that I hadn't asked for her as well. I said, "Oh, Mother, I'm so sorry that you had to suffer with that horrible disease." She tipped her head slightly to one side, as though to acknowledge what I had said about her suffering. Then she smiled, a beautiful smile, and said very distinctly, "But all I remember is love." And she disappeared. I began to shiver in a room suddenly gone cold, and I knew in my bones that love we give and receive is all that matters, and all that is remembered. Suffering disappears. Love remains. Her words are the most important I have ever heard, and that moment is forever engraved on my heart. I have not yet seen or heard from my father, but I have no doubts that someday when I least expect it, he will appear and say, "Have I told you yet today that I love you?"
So, in the end, this story really reminds us of the power of connection, how love and presence can sustain us even in the hardest times. And as we feel that quiet bond, I hope you carry this warmth with you. This story was written by Bobby Probstein, the author I mentioned earlier. And in the next podcast, we'll be exploring the story called Heart Song. I'll see you all there. Until then, take care.